Today I'd like to talk about some structure pruning that I've done on this project on this young crepe myrtle. Been doing it for close to about 8 years or so. In structure pruning, what you want to do is you want to pick branches that are going to be on the tree. Say sometimes you want to pick them, they're going to be like short term, and then you're going to pick the branches that you're going to keep for long term. So on this one, this crepe myrtle, I've decided that I'm going to turn it into a low branch tree. A lot of times with crepe myrtles, the nurseries will get a few crepe myrtles and plant them in a pot, or they might cut the stem and turn it into a multi. So multis aren't normally a good trees. With multis, the stems will grow, when they get larger, they'll grow in girth, and they have an opportunity to push each other out. So you might spend a bunch of years on a tree, and then when it gets large enough, you'll lose a good section and it would ruin your structure. So with this one, I decided it'll be a low branch tree. And so I've already come up with some of the structure that I plan on having. And what I want to do is just explain some of my thought process and some of what I've done, and just do a real quick structure prune on just some of the ends of this. So this is a decurrent tree, which means it's going to end up being a round-headed tree. And the reason it wants to be a round-headed tree is because all of the terminal ends, they want to go and reach out and be the top. When it's a young tree, what I don't want it to do is to become round-headed really quick, and I want to pick out the branches that I want for the frame of it. A lot of times, you know, you'd normally have a tree that has a straight trunk. That's called a standard. So a lot of times you'd want to keep some of those side branches really, really small, and you'd like the trunk to grow really tall in the center. So I still want that to happen somewhat. I've already picked out the one branch, or the stem, that's going to be my leader, and that's going to be this one here. So this will be my stem, and it's going to go up, and this tree can reach about 22 feet tall. That's the plan. So these other branches that I've kept on, you can see on this lower section, I do have these small branches, and they're really pretty close because I want it to be a low stem tree. So these are actually going to be on the tree for the life of this tree, but I don't want them to take over. So on this tree, I've already had this picked out, and I've already done cuts in the past to reduce it. So this right here was a cut where I last trimmed it, was right here. Well, since that time, you can see that the energy the tree put out to this section was really long. You can see from that cut to here, it's really long. Now this branch wants to try to take over the tree, and it wants to compete with the leader. Okay, well, we don't want that to happen. I'll change that because we'll do a prune on it. So there's a couple of things that happen when you reduce a branch. You reduce it, it shortens it, so it will send some energy out. And then also by reducing it, you can slow down the growth of the thickness of the branch. So at this point here, instead of this branch getting thick as the center, it'll slow it down, it'll be a little bit more narrow. So some of the other branches that I've trimmed are here. So as I was doing this, I've already picked out the inside structure, and maybe later some of this interior, when I have these upper branches, well, maybe I'll take some of those out. So what I'm going to do this time is I'll walk around it, and I'll look at sections where I want to remove just to slow down the leader. Here was another older cut. This one did a little bit better than the last one. It did put a shoot, but you can see there's a little bit more side branches here that I'll have an opportunity to reduce it to. Here's another older cut that I did, and you can tell with this cut what the tree's response was to put out some, it put out, every time you take a terminal off, it makes the tree have a little bit more energy, and it puts out growth. So on this cut, these little buds that were not anywhere on the tree, they popped out. That's the tree just trying to respond to, give that energy to what you were taking away. Here's another cut that I did here, and you could see the length that it grew from there to there. Well, what's nice is I'll do a cut probably up to here, and reduce that. So I'll be walking around through this tree, and the whole idea is to let that leader grow taller. So I'll go back to the leader. There is another one right here that's growing from the, I really haven't cut the top out, but what's happening here, you could really see it if from this angle here. If you look at it here, this having this branch here is causing the top to go outward. Well, I don't want that to happen. So what I'll do is I'm going to take this stem off and I'll let it recover and hopefully straighten out. So now I'll take the branches that I showed you guys off, and we'll see what it looks like after I'm complete. So instead of maybe taking this completely off, I'm gonna cut it in half, maybe to a bud. And this would be a heading cut. In a heading cut, you're not really cutting to a stem. What I normally like to do is, if I was going to take a branch off, I like to cut to a lateral branch. Now, some of the other cuts that we're going to do, I'll be doing it in that way. So when you cut to a lateral branch, a little bit less energy is put out by the tree. So it'll take a little bit longer for it to grow. So the next cut I'm going to do is this one here. And I'm just going to go back to that original cut, almost like a heading cut. So I'm cutting to this stem to try to slow it down so it doesn't grow as long as it did in the last time. And so the other cut that I'll do is over here. I'll also reduce this one. I don't want it to compete with the top. And I'm going to go back to this. Maybe not as severe, and it will be to a lateral. So right now the whole goal is for the top not to be taken over by the side branches. Here's the next one. And it's a good idea to put your blade closest to your cut. There we go. Now this one that was cut the last time and it's trying to take over, I'll just take that one back off again. And I'll let this one, oops, I didn't get a good cut on that. And I'll let that one take over. So I'm going to take these little extra buds off because I just don't want them to be in the interior. And then this one who's growing really well, I'll just cut it to a bud. We just want to slow that down. Also, you can see that this one had that long length here. I'll just cut it back to a lateral branch. There it goes. And this guy over here, you can see that length. The last cut used to be here. This was doing really well at suppressing the energy, but then this side branch, it wants to try to take over. So I'll just take that one off. All right. Now we step over here, and this one right here where you can see the length of it, want to reduce that. And this one's actually doing really well. It's kind of getting crowded here, so I'll just take that one off and I'll reduce this a little bit, not much. Now what I was hoping for, see all these side branches are a little bit lower. Now I'm not worried as much for them to keep on growing and to take over the top here. Now by reducing this limb, I'm hoping that this one will self-correct and go straight on its own and become the top. And then a lot of these little interior branches here will also become some of the framework of the tree. And in the end, I should have this nice low branch crepe myrtle where it'll have some of that artistic value that a lot of people want when it's a multi-stem tree. Well, this has been a project that I've been working on for a bunch of years. So this season, it's not very much that I have to take off. This is all I'm going to take off for this season. And as I mentioned, I've been working on it, for a few years now, and it's doing exactly what I want it to. It does seem a little bit crowded in here. Not a big worry for me because I know these branches are all going to be connected properly. They're not going to push each other out in time when they grow older. Now this time around, you can see how we had all those other branches and they were trying to take over for the top. By reducing those throughout this canopy, I know that now this is going to grow taller, and some of these right here will now become maybe permanents. And I'll still keep those as permanents, but they're just going to be a little bit smaller for now. And even the size that they grow in diameter against this main stem that we have here. So yeah, in time this will be a low branch, hopefully beautiful crepe myrtle. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Comment, like, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell if you guys like what we do. Take care. We'll see you next time.